Hello everybody, I am Akshay Deshpande and welcome to the next class. And today, as we will go with the remaining part of the chapter, that is respiration in plants. So till now in the whole chapter, what we have discussed is mainly with respect to some of the important pathways that are concerned with the respiration of the plants. So in the first class, we have mainly focused our discussion on the glycolysis. Now glycolysis, as we all know, it is a breaking of the glycolysis, glucose, that will lead us, that will generate the pyruvic acid, and the pyruvic acid, depending upon the presence or absence of oxygen, the fate is decided. If there is no oxygen, then there will be no further breaking down. Okay, instead the whole pathway's aim will be just production of ATPs. But however, if there is presence of oxygen ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಪೈರುವಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಟ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಇಂಟು ದಿ ಏರೋಬಿಕ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಪಾತ್ವೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಹೌದು. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ನಾವು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಫರ್ಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ನಾವು ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿ ಈವನ್ ಲುಕ್ಡ್ ಇಂಟು ಸಮ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್. So now in this part, what we are being concerned is about the aerobic respiration. Okay, so we will now look into most two important pathway, that is the TCA cycle. Okay, TCA cycle ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ, and also we will look into the electron transport system. ಹೌದಾ, ಇವು ಎರಡನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಇವನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಹೌ ಮೆನಿ ATPs are produced. This is called as the balance sheet anta karitivi. And finally we will also look into the pathway importance, that is amphibolic pathway anta ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. Okay, amphibolic pathway anta ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. This is about the Krebs cycle what we will discuss. And finally we will end our discussion on the respiratory quotient RQ anta ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಹೌದಾ. ಸೊ ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ನ mainly focus ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. We will be mainly focusing on these all concepts in these all chapters, right? So let's start now. So now aerobic respiration, we know that the pyruvic acid is the ultimate end product of the whole reaction. ಹೌದಾ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, pyruvic acid, pyruvic acid, or what we can call the pyruvate. The pyruvic acid or the pyruvate is the main end product of the glycolysis, right? So this pyruvate, in the case or in the presence of oxygen, with the presence of oxygen, can undergo aerobic respiration. Okay, and aerobic respiration, in the sense, it is basically the decarboxylation process. Aerobic respiration steps that will give us, that is decarboxylation. Decarboxylation in the sense that is mainly removal of carbon dioxide. Okay, so for these reactions, that is the decarboxylation reactions, to occur, the pyruvic acid or the pyruvate is actually transported to the mitochondria. It is mainly transported to the mitochondria, right? And here what happens is there is a stepwise oxidation process. Okay, oxidative decarboxylation, what we call, and this also results in the removal of the hydrogen atoms, leaving the product are being the 3 carbon dioxide. Okay, 3 carbon dioxide molecules. And finally, after the stepwise removal of all these carbon dioxide molecules, we get FADH2 and NADH2, right? So these are the electron carriers. These are actually the electron carriers. These electron carriers will enter into a system of electron transporting system, what we call electron transport chain, or electron transport system. Simply that's what they have mentioned in your textbook. ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಈ FADH2 NADH2 ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇವು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಓಕೆ, so these electron transport system or electron transport carriers are actually present in the inner membrane of the mitochondria only, right? So we know the structure of mitochondria. If you look into the structure of mitochondria, it is mainly having, outer membrane and the inner membrane. This is the inner membrane, right? So all the complexes that are mainly required for the electron transport chain are mainly present in the inner membrane of mitochondria. Whereas these reactions, what we are looking over here, that is the oxidation and also the removal of hydrogen atoms, then finally formation of 3 carbon dioxide molecules. E reactions ellagatte andre mainly it will occur in the matrix of mitochondria. Okay, these reactions. So generally these reactions what we are looking over here is called as the TCA cycle, tricarboxylic acid cycle, or also called as the Krebs cycle. TCA cycle or Krebs cycle, right? Yeah, so these reactions are mainly occurring in the matrix of mitochondria, right? But whereas the electron transport system or electron carriers and their respective electron transport system, they are mainly present in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, right? So we can say that the same organelle, that is mitochondria, is involved in 2 different set of reactions. ಒಂದೇ ಮೈಟೋಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹೌದಾ? ಒಂದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಟ್ರೈಕಾರ್ಬಾಕ್ಸಿಲಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ತದೆ, that is the matrix part of the mitochondria, and one more is the inner membrane that is mainly involved in the electron transport system, right? So what is the ultimate agenda of these 2 systems or these 2 reactions is that, again, systematic oxidative, what we can say, decarboxylation of the pyruvic acid will generate some direct ATP. It will give some direct ATP. Some direct ATP is actually generated, but whereas major of the energy is actually trapped or given in the form of these reduced form of the electron carriers, that is the NADH2, and one more is the FADH2. Major of the energy is actually trapped or present in these 2 molecules. So these 2 molecules will ultimately get into the electron transport system. Electron transport system ge move aagtave. Hauda? So electron transport system we will be discussing in more detail, but as these electron carriers are moving into the electron transport system, again an electrochemical gradient is formed. Electrochemical gradient is formed, and that drives the synthesis of ATP. That actually drives the synthesis of ATP. This is what we know. Of course, we will be discussing these steps later in the class, right? So as of now, what we need to remember is through the electron transport system, and one more is the stepwise removal of the carbon dioxide, it is the decarboxylation from the pyruvic acid, we will actually get some direct ATP and NADH, right? And these reactions that are occurring in the matrix of the mitochondria, we refer them as oxidative decarboxylation of the pyruvic acid, that is tricarboxylic acid cycle. So here the first step of the reaction what we are looking here, the first is the pyruvic acid, the next one we are having is the CoA, that is the coenzyme A, and also next one we are looking is the NAD+. NAD+ is mainly, as we all know, it is the nicotinamide dinucleotide, and this whole reaction that is catalyzed mainly by the pyruvate dehydrogenase. Okay, this whole reaction is mainly catalyzed by the enzyme called as the pyruvate dehydrogenase. ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಈ ಎಂಜೈಮ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ನಮಗೆ ಕೋ ಎ ಎನ್ಸೈಮನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಪೈರುವಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಸಿಟೈಲ್ ಕೋ ಎನ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಸಿಟೈಲ್ ಕೋ ಎ ಈಸ್ ದ ಒನ್ ದಟ್ ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಎಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದಿ Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle ಗೆ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಯಾವುದು? ದಿ ಅಸಿಟೈಲ್ ಕೋ ಎ, right? And not only acetyl CoA is generated, one molecule of carbon dioxide and finally one more molecule of the NADH2 or NADH plus H plus, right? NADH2 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ. NADH2, right? So all terms mean the same over here. Okay, so as you have observed over here, not only the coenzyme A and NAD plus is required for this as a coenzymes, but also an ion, inorganic ion, that is the magnesium. Okay, divalent magnesium ion is also required. ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ? ಪೈರುವೇಟ್ ಡಿಹೈಡ್ರೋಜಿನೇಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ನಮಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೇಷಿಯಂ ಅಯಾನ್ ಕೂಡ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Now, so this is mainly the first step of reaction, that is the generation of acetyl CoA for the Krebs cycle. Now, here we are having the actual textbook diagram, that is the pyruvate and which is fixed into the acetyl CoA, that is by the enzyme called as the pyruvate dehydrogenase. This step is mainly done by the pyruvate dehydrogenase, right? And this results in the formation of first carbon dioxide, first molecule. Remember, we are speaking that in the whole reaction we are getting 3 carbon dioxide molecules. Out of 3, already 1 we have got over here, right? Yes. Now, let us look into the next part, actual starting part of the Krebs cycle. Citric acid cycle ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಾವು. TCA cycle, citric acid cycle and also the Krebs cycle, all the 3 names mean the same. ಹೌದಾ? So ಈ acetyl CoA enzyme ಏನಿದೆಲ್ಲ, it is made up of 2 carbon and it is accepted by the first molecule, that is the oxaloacetic acid, OAA, right? Exactly. If you remember from your C4 cycle of the photosynthesis, ಆಕ್ಸಲೋಅಸಿಟಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಅದೇ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಮಗೆ ಆಕ್ಸಲೋಅಸಿಟಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು, that oxaloacetic acid in the Krebs cycle, you are seeing that it is an acceptor for the acetyl CoA, and this will result in the formation of the 6 carbon compound called as the citric acid ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Okay, it is called as the citric acid ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. But however, again you see that this reaction, that is catalysis or catalyzing the reaction between the oxaloacetic acid and the acetyl CoA enzyme, we require an enzyme called as, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು enzyme ಬರುತ್ತೆ, citrate synthase ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. It is called as citrate synthase. Okay, and this citrate synthase is mainly important for catalyzing this particular reaction. Now, from citric acid, later you see that there is a decarboxylation reaction. Of course, you actually get two intermediate compounds over here. The first is isocitrate and one more we get this cis-aconitase, right? ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ 2 ಇಂಟರ್ಮೀಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ನಾವು ಈ 2 ಇಂಟರ್ಮೀಡಿಯೇಟ್ನ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಸಿಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಇಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಬರೋದು ನಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಐಸೋಸಿಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫೈನಲಿ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ cis-aconitase. cis-aconate, ಸಾರಿ, ನಾಟ್ ಅಕೋನೇಟೇಸ್, ಅಕೋನೇಟ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಇವು 2 ನಮಗೆ ಇಂಟರ್ಮೀಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಲೇಟರ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ what we can say a decarboxylation reaction and removal of hydrogen atoms and giving it to the what we can say NAD plus to give us the first molecule of the NADH2, and the product what we get over here is the alpha ketogluteric acid, right? So now from the alpha ketogluteric acid, the cycle continues to give us one more intermediate molecule over here called as the succinyl CoA. ಸಕ್ಸಿನೈಲ್ CoA ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಹೌದಾ? ಈ ಸಕ್ಸಿನೈಲ್ CoA ಇಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಯಾವ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ವಿ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಗೆಟ್ ದಿ ಸಕ್ಸಿನಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸಕ್ಸಿನೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. right? So if you can see over here, there is a 2 successive round of decarboxylation. After citric acid, there is a 2 successive rounds of decarboxylation. ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ carbon dioxide. So already in the first part we had mentioned that 3 CO2 molecules. First CO2 molecule is removed in the first preparatory step of the citric acid cycle. That is this reaction what we are looking over here. And the remaining 2 carbon dioxide molecules you see in the actual what we can say Krebs cycle only. Yes. And in these set of reactions we are getting our first 2 molecules of NADH2 here, NADH2. Right? So this NADH2, this NADH2, and here one more in the preparatory step we are having around 3 NADH2 ನಮಗೆ ಬಂತು. Okay, and ನಮಗೆ ಏನಾಯ್ತು 3 CO2 ಸಿಕ್ತು. Now here this step is important for us, from succinyl-CoA to the succinic acid. Why? Because as you can see over here, there is a formation of GTP. Okay, generally we have discussed that ATP is the main form of cellular currency, but however even there are other molecules that can be used as a cellular currency. But why ATP? Because there are several reasons. One of them is ATP is most abundantly found in the cells. Okay, ಒಂದು ಕಾರಣ ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ATP is the general cell currency ಅಂತ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಅಬಂಡೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಫೌಂಡ್ ಇದೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಸಿಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಸೆಲ್ಯುಲರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದೇ ಥರ ಅಡೆನೋಸಿನ್ ಟ್ರೈಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಥರನೇ ನಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ GTP ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. GTP ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಗ್ವಾನೋಸಿನ್ ಟ್ರೈಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ATP ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಏನು ಹೈ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸು ನಮಗೆ ಈವನ್ GTP ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, yes, so that is an important point we have to remember. So the GTP, we can say that it is equivalent to the ATP over here. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು GTP ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, okay, that is equivalent to ATP ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, we say it is an equivalent ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, but actually what happens is that for this reaction, that is a transferring of one phosphate group from the GTP to the ADP to give us ATP. Okay, ನಮಗೆ ಇದು ATP ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ GTP ನಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ನ ತೆಗೆದು ADPಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಅಂದರೆ ಅಡೆನೋಸಿನ್ ಡೈಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಡನ್ ಬೈ ಅನ್ ಎನ್ಸೈಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿಸಿಟಿ ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಓವರ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಓಕೆ, ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಸೊ ವಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ದಟ್ GTP is equivalent to ATP ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, right? And now finally from succinic acid we get what we can say the cycle continues to give us one more intermediate called as the fumarate. We get one more intermediate molecule over here called as the fumarate. Okay, yes, and in this step you can see that the electrons are again what we can say the protons are taken out from this intermediate reaction, and it is given to the hydrogen atoms are given to the FAD, that is flavin adenine dinucleotide. FAD mainly stands for the flavin adenine dinucleotide, to give us the which results or to give us the formation of the flavin adenine dinucleotide hydrogen. Okay, FADH2 is mainly formed over here. Now from fumarate what we get malic acid, right, which is again a 4-carbon compound. From malic acid the cycle continues to generate again the oxaloacetic acid, and again in this reaction there is removal of the hydrogen from the malic acid, and this hydrogen is given to the NAD plus to give us the NADH2, right? So ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಏನು ನೋಡಿದೀವಲ್ಲ, the complete cycle whatever we have observed over here is mainly for one single pyruvate molecule. Whatever it is, one single pyruvate molecule ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ we will just calculate how many NADH and how many FADH2 and how many CO2 we got, right? So ultimately for one pyruvate molecule we can just calculate over here. For one pyruvate molecule you can see that we got around this one over here, and this one, yeah. So we got actually 4 NADH2, right? Yes. So now we have to consider the first step of the reaction also, that is the intermediate step ಅಂತ ಇದು ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಟರಿ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಹೌದಾ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಈ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹೌದಾ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥ NADH ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಜನರಲಿ ಕೆಲವರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ they don't consider, but for our simplicity we will consider this also. Okay, so from this cycle we are getting 3 NADH2. Okay, and also the first preparatory step for the Krebs cycle, here we are getting one more NADH2. Okay, idunu kuda consider madidre 4 anta agutte, and we get only one FADH2 here, one FADH2, right? And after one FADH2, and what is the direct number of ATPs or GTPs? Only one GTP you get. ಹೌದಾ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ಒನ್ ಪೈರುವೇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಸಿಡ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು, ಒನ್ ಪೈರುವೇಟಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಬಟ್ ವಿ ನೋ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಗ್ಲೈಕಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೈರುವೇಟ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ 2 ಪೈರುವೇಟ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಇಟ್ ವಿತ್ ವಾಟ್, 2, ರೈಟ್, into 2. So we can say what is that net gain over here? We get 8 NADH2 and 2 FADH2 and 2 GTP. This is the net what we can say the result of the Krebs cycle over here, ಹೌದಾ. ಸೊ ಇದೇ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನ ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. Let remember these numbers. So we will be using all these numbers from our last class and also from this class for the calculation of the respiratory balance sheet. We have to remember these all numbers, right? So for one we get only 4 NADH2 and 1 FADH2 and 1 GTP. But however, in the case when we consider 2 pyruvate molecules, we get 8 NADH2 molecules multiplied with 2, we get 8 NADH2 molecules, 2 FADH2 molecules and 2 GTP molecules, right? So this is mainly about the Krebs cycle over here. Now we can look into the same cycle even in more detailed over here. Now in modna idne now detail agi nodona. Just erase this. Yeah, so I have taken this from an biochemistry textbook. Okay, Campbell biology, that is biochemistry, written by an author called as Campbell. I have taken the reference from this particular textbook for the detailed Krebs cycle over here, right? You can actually get this if you find it from internet. So now you can see over here the first step of reaction we are having. The first step of reaction over here, that is pyruvate, which is coming from the glycolysis, right? And this pyruvate undergoes the first preparatory step of reaction, that is to give us generation of the acetyl CoA, right? And this acetyl CoA along with the oxaloacetic acetate or oxaloacetic acid, it will enter into the Krebs cycle pathway to give us the first molecule, that is the citrate, right? And you can see over here this reaction is mainly done by the citrate synthase. And next one we are looking that we are getting aconitase enzyme, which is mainly involved in conversion of citrate to isocitrate. From isocitrate, next we are having is the isocitrate dehydrogenase, right, to give us alpha ketoglutarate. Okay, even in this reaction also they have not mentioned the intermediate molecule, that is the cis aconitate anta barutte on molecule kottilla adana. Okay, anyway, and from that we get the alpha ketoglutarate, and alpha ketoglutarate will undergo the again dehydrogenation reaction to give us the succinyl CoA, right? Now here you can see another enzyme is playing an important role for this dehydrogenase, alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. Okay, and next from the succinyl CoA it is again undergoing another reaction to give us the succinate, and succinate nalli ee reaction nalli enagtade namge we are looking that the GDP is actually getting an phosphate molecule to give us the GTP, right? So this reaction, this step what you are looking over here is actually an example for the substrate. I did not mention it earlier, substrate level phosphorylation, right? It is the substrate level phosphorylation. Because now interestingly, if you look over here, this reaction is quite interesting. Okay, we will discuss this part. Because the succinyl CoA is what we are looking. If you look into this particular reaction, you can see that the CoA, okay, the CoA enzyme A and the SH is actually removed. Sulfide group is actually being removed, right? So now what happens in this particular step is that the energy required to transfer the phosphate group to the GDP molecule is coming by breaking down the bond of the sulfide, that is the CoA part of the succinyl CoA. Okay, so succinyl CoA nallirohanta CoA bond anna navenu sulfide bond na muriತೀವಿ. Okay, ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ, that energy is sufficient to transfer the phosphate group to the GDP molecule to generate the GTP. Okay, so hence we consider that this is also a substrate level phosphorylation. Okay, ನಾವು ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ನಮ್ದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ನಾವೇನು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಅಂತ ಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ನ ನಾವು ತೆಗೆದು ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದಿ ADP ಟು ದಿ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ATP ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಫಾಸ್ಫರೈಲೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ, ಹೌದಾ? Not only that statement is true, even what we are looking over here in this, by breaking the bond and the energy that generated by the breaking of the bond using for the transferring of the phosphate group to the GDP to form the GTP is also an example for the substrate level phosphorylation, right? So you can see over here there's an enzyme called as the nucleoside diphosphate kinase, which transports that or transfers that phosphate molecule from the GTP to the ADP for the formation of ATP, right? So this is what actually we had discussed, that there's one enzyme over here, they have mentioned it over here. Now the next part we are having is the succinate, and succinate again with the help of succinate dehydrogenase, this enzyme converts it into the fumarate, and again dehydrogenase anta ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ತೆಗಿತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ the hydrogen is removed and given it to the FAD plus to give us the FADH2. Now from the fumarate the cycle gives us the malate. From malate again, what we can say, oxaloacetate is generated back. So here if you look into the again the same NADH2, FADH2, and if you look into the ATP molecules that are actually generated, here we are having one, here we are having one, and here this one is another one, right? So we can say 3 NADH2 molecules, and here we are having only one FADH2 molecule, right? And also from the preparatory step of this reaction we are getting one more NADH2 molecule and only one ATP molecule for only one pyruvate molecules. For only one pyruvate molecule, whatever calculation we are doing is for one pyruvate molecules. You have to multiply it with 2 for the 2 pyruvate molecules. So this is the net reaction that you people can see over here. That is the pyruvic acid and 4 NADH2 molecules, one single pyruvic acid and 4 NAD plus and one single FAD plus with 2 water molecules with a single ADP. We get 3 carbon dioxide molecules and the 4 NADH, 4 protons and 1 FADH2 molecule and finally 1 ATP molecule, right? So this is all what we can say the net overall reaction that we have mentioned over here, and all these reactions are going in the mitochondrial matrix. So we shall now further proceed with the electron transport system. Okay, so electron transport system, as I said, these molecules, that is FADH2 and NADH2, they actually enter into these molecules, enter into the electron transport system. So now we will look into the electron transport system, right? So whatever till here we have discussed, right, we have noticed that the direct ATP are actually generated by the glycolysis, and also the Krebs cycle are very much less, right? See, if you consider the number of direct ATP that you are getting from the glycolysis, we are actually having only 2 ATPs. ನಮಗೆ ಬರೀ 2 ATP ಬರ್ತದೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ATP ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ? ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ glycolysis, right? But whereas the number of ATP that we get from the Krebs cycle, okay, only if the Krebs cycle is running one time. Okay, one time. Okay, if it is two time, that is different. But if you look into the Krebs cycle, that is giving us direct ATP, only one ATP we are getting, right? But however, we can actually generate, or we can get more number of ATPs, and this energy is actually present, stored or present in the NADP or NADH2, and one more is the FADH2. Right, so the maximum energy is stored here, so we need to extract this energy from these two molecules, right? So here this is done by a system called as the electron transport system, where we find a set of complexes which are mainly present in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Inner mitochondrial membrane ಒಳಗಡೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು complexes ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ. Okay, the first complex we call it as the NADH dehydrogenase, and the next complex we are having is the complex 2, that is the succinate dehydrogenase. Right, so if you remember this succinate dehydrogenase, it is mainly present in the inner part of the facing towards the matrix of the mitochondria, and this is the same enzyme as you had looked into the Krebs cycle also, where it is mainly involved in conversion of succinate to fumarate. Right, yeah, the same complex, it is also involved in the what we can say electron transport system. And next one we are having is the complex 3, which is also called as the cytochrome BC1. If you remember from our photosynthesis chapter, we had a complex called as the cytochrome B6F, right? So this complex 3 is very much similar to that only. And finally, we are having one more complex called as the complex 4, which is also called as the cytochrome C oxidase, right? So all of these complexes are mainly associated in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Apart from that, if you can look over here, there's also one more called as the ATP synthase. Generally, we also call this as another complex called as the complex, okay, called as the complex 5. Complex 5 ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಹೌದಾ, ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನರ್ ಮೈಟೋಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಹೌದಾ, ಸೊ ದ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ರಿಮೂವ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ NADH2 and FADH2 and enters into the electron transport system, which is mainly used for pumping of the protons that you can see over here. Protons ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಪಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. The question is, they are actually pumped from where to where? The protons are actually present in the mitochondrial matrix, and from matrix they are pumped into the inner membrane space, right? So from matrix they are pumped into the inner membrane space. So as we have discussed that the mitochondria is mainly made up of how many membranes? Mitochondria is mainly made up of the two membranes. ಹೌದಾ, ಹಾ. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. This gap from the outer membrane and inner membrane is called as the inner membranal space, okay, or intermembranal space. So the protons are actually pumped from the matrix into the intermembranal spaces. And this actually creates an electrochemical gradient of protons, and the energy that is present in this electrochemical gradient is mainly used for the generation of ATP, what you can look over here by the same structure called as the ATP synthase. You have heard this ATP synthase even in your last chapter, that is the photosynthesis in the thylakoids, which is present in the thylakoids, right? Yeah, the same structure here also you will find it. So they have also mentioned over here electrochemical gradient is actually formed, right? So let us look into the how electrons are actually transported. So here we are having the first molecule, that is the NADH2, right? The NADH2 gives its 2 electrons to the first complex called as the NADH dehydrogenase, right? Which is actually a iron sulfur containing protein, and also one more we are having FMN structure present in the complex 1. So from the NADH2, the electrons are actually removed and transferred into the complex 1, where you can see that as the electrons are removed from the NADH2, it is again reduced or oxidized back into its normal state, that is the NAD+. Right, and this NAD+ is again transported from the mitochondria, enters into cytoplasm, and helps in running the glycolysis cycle again. Okay, we know this, we had discussed in the last class. Right, now the electron is transported from the iron sulfur containing structure of the NADH dehydrogenase to another structure called as the ubiquinone, and this ubiquinone is actually a mobile carrier. Okay, it is mainly present in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, and after accepting this electron from the complex 1, it becomes ubiquinol. It becomes ubiquinol, that is the reduced state of the ubiquinol. And this ubiquinol will transfer the electrons from itself to the next complex, that is the complex 3 over here, right, which is mainly containing the cytochrome and again an iron sulfur structure. Okay, so here the electron is received by the cytochrome B, and it is given to another structure called as the iron sulfur structure, and here it is again given to one more structure called as the cytochrome C. And from cytochrome C, the electron is again transferred from the complex 3 last part, that is the cytochrome C, through one more structure called as the cytochrome C, which is another mobile protein complex that is actually present in the inner membranal space side of the inner membrane mitochondrial membrane. Okay, it is mainly facing towards the intermembranal space. Yaudu cytochrome C, right? So this cytochrome C now takes the electron and comes mobile, travels and gives or releases the electron from itself and delivers it to the complex 4, right, which is mainly containing 2 copper centers, right? So here from copper, one copper center it is transferred into cytochrome A, and from cytochrome A it is transferred into cytochrome A3, and from cytochrome A3 it is transferred into one more copper center called as a CUA, copper A. Right, so this is how the transport of the electrons is going for the NADH2 only, right? So now if you observe over here, if you carefully observe over here, these each complexes, that is the complex number 1 and the complex number 3 and the complex number 4, they are not only involved in the transferring of the electrons, but at the same time they are even pumping the protons from the matrix into the intermembranal space. Okay, mitochondria adu inner ಮತ್ತೆ ಔಟರ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ಸ್ ಪಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹೌದಾ? ಆಸ್ ಅ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಓವರ್ ಹಿಯರ್, ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ electrochemical gradient formation, that is more the number of protons are actually formed, hence this results in the formation or building up of the proton motive force, what we know. Right, now similarly we are having one more molecule, that is the FADH2, and this FADH2 is mainly accepted by another complex, that is the complex number 2, that is succinate dehydrogenase. Right, you can see over here. So what happens is the electrons are actually removed from the FADH2 and again it is reoxidized back into the FAD state, and the electron is taken from the FADH2 and given into the an iron sulfur structure, and this electron is further transported into, as we all know, ubiquinone, and from ubiquinone it is reduced to ubiquinol, and from that again electron is given back to the complex 2, right? Now complex 3. From complex 3 it is again taken by the cytochrome C, and you can see it travels and delivers the electron to the complex number 4, right? So same process is again happening over here, but however the main difference is that in the case of NADH2 all the 3 complexes, complex number 1, complex number 3 and complex number 4 are acting as the proton pumps, but however here you can see that the path that is taken by the FADH2, the complex 2, it is not a proton pumping structure, right? Only the complex 3 and complex 4 are mainly involved in pumping of protons from the matrix into the intermembranal space, right? So for NADH2 we can just give a generalization over here. Okay, NADH2, the pathway that is transport of electron is from complex 1 to complex 3 to complex 4. This is the pathway, right? For FADH2 it is from complex 2 to complex 3 and from complex 3 to complex 4. This is how the electrons actually travel. Okay, the path of travel of electrons from the NADH2 and the FADH2, you have to remember this, right? So ultimately what happens is that in the intermembranous space, the proton concentration increases. The proton concentration increases, and the energy which is present or generated through the electrochemical gradient of these protons is used to drive the synthesis of ATP, right? So in the intermembranous space, you see that there is a structure called as ATP synthase. Okay, ATP synthase, a bulb-like structure, it is having a protrusion. So this part is called as the F0 particle, and this one is called as the F1 particle, right? So collectively both the structures, if we consider both the structures together, we call it as the ATP synthase. It is called as the ATP synthase. We can actually look this, the diagram has been mentioned. So here we are having, so this structure is called as the FO, while this structure is called as the F1 particle, right? So for synthesis of one ATP molecule, the number of protons that is required to pass through this ATP synthase structure is around 2 protons, right? So in this way we can see that around 2 protons that can pass through the ATP synthase can give us one ATP molecule, right? And the energy that is stored in these protons, that is the electrochemical gradient, is mainly used to transfer the inorganic phosphate to the ADP, and it will result in the generation of what we call so-called the ATP, right? So in this way we can see that these are what we can say, these are the total this is how the ATP is actually formed through the electron transport system, right? By harnessing the energy that is mainly present in the NADH2, and one more we are having is the FADH2, right? So now we will look into the next concept called as the respiratory quotient, right? So it is a fairly simple statement which can be said by, it is the amount of volume of carbon dioxide evolved to the volume of oxygen consumed, right? So this is what we call as the respiratory quotient. So now we are having some standard values for the, what we can say, of some respiratory substrates, right? In the case of carbohydrates, you can see that the value of the respiratory substrates is actually 1, which means that the number of carbon dioxide that has evolved and also the number of oxygen that has been consumed is same in number. Okay, as a result we get the value as 1. But whereas in the case of fats, the value of this respiratory quotient is less than 1. Okay, for example, in the case of palmitin, you can see that it is 0.7, right? Now similarly in the case of proteins, the number is what? The number is less than 1, that is it is around 0.9. So what it means over here is that in both of the cases, that is fats and also the proteins, the number of carbon dioxide that has been evolved is less than the amount of oxygen that has been consumed. Okay, so ಎಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆನೋ ಆ ನಂಬರಿಗೂ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಎವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿದೆನೋ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದಿದೆನೋ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಂದ, ಮತ್ತು ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಎವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡಿರೈವ್ ಓವರ್ ಹಿಯರ್. But interestingly, you see that generally major of the living cells nalli, organisms nalli, ಒಂದೇ ತರದ substrate use ಆಗ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, more than one type of respiratory substrates are generally used in the living organisms. And also you see that pure proteins and fats are never used as respiratory substrates. Okay, because they generally release less amount of energy, and more amount of energy is actually invested to break them down, right? So as a result, pure proteins and pure fats are never used as the respiratory substrates. So now here we are having the amphibolic pathway, right? So we will be discussing this as the last part, at the last end of the chapter. So now what do we mean by amphibolic pathway is that in major of the cases, not only the carbohydrates are the major respiratory substrates, but we can even observe that even fats and also proteins are being used over here, right? So if these molecules, that is the fats and the proteins, have to enter into the respiratory pathways, fats are generally converted into fatty acids, right? And fatty acids will enter into the Krebs cycle after it is being converted into the acetyl CoA, what you can look over here. Now similarly, if it is going to be glycerol, it can be converted into one more structure called as the dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which is convertible to PGAL, that is the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted into pyruvic acid. It is next converted into the acetyl CoA and finally enters into Krebs cycle, right? So this is mainly for the case of fat molecules. Okay, the remaining, that is the carbohydrates, we have discussed it as of now, that carbohydrates is broken down through glycolysis to generate as the pyruvic acid, which is converted into the acetyl CoA, and that acetyl CoA enters into the Krebs cycle, right? So now not only the carbohydrates and fats are also used, but at the same time we can even use protein as our respiratory substrates, right? Now here these proteins should be broken down into amino acids, and these amino acids are later directly converted into the, what we can say, pyruvic acid, and the pyruvic acid will be next entering into the Krebs cycle by being converted into acetyl CoA, and this acetyl CoA will enter into the Krebs cycle. So here we can say that the respiratory pathway mainly comes into the picture by breaking down, and so we can see that both catabolic reactions and also anabolic reactions are going on over here. So hence this kind of system or respiratory pathway, we call it as amphibolic pathway rather than the just simply saying it as the catabolic one, right? So this is mainly about the amphibolic pathway. Now let us look into the respiratory balance sheet. This is the last part, right? So we will be mainly now discussing what is the number of ATP that we get. Now simply stated, the total number of ATP that we get by aerobic respiration is the 38, okay, and this number is actually correct for the prokaryotes, okay, but in the case of eukaryotes it is 36, okay, 36 for the eukaryotes, right? So let us now calculate it. Why is it so, right? So now in the case of glycolysis, okay, we will just do a table over here, glycolysis, right? So we will write ATP, right, and we will write NADH2, and also we will write FADH2, right? So and next we are having is the Krebs cycle, right? So from Krebs cycle and also glycolysis, what is the number of direct ATP we are getting? 4 minus 2, that is only 2. And what is the number of NADH2? We are getting 2 NADH2, right? We are getting 2 NADH2, and there are no FADH2 produced over here. Now similarly in the case of Krebs cycle, we get only 2 if we consider 2 pyruvate cycles entering to the Krebs cycle at the same time, because we are getting 2 pyruvate molecules from the glycolysis, okay, single glucose. Now, so we are getting 2 ATP over here, and we can say that we are having 8 NADH2, and we get only 2 FADH2 from 2 pyruvate molecules, right? So now what is the total number over here? If you add, we get directly 4 ATP, and we know that a single NADH2 has a capacity of generating 3 ATPs, right? The energy potential. So we multiply it with 3 ATP and 3 ATP, right? So we can just say 10 into 3, right? It is 30 over here. And finally for the FADH2, the energy potential capacity to generate the ATP, we generally say it is 2, okay? So single FADH2 can produce only 2 ATP molecules. So we multiply it with what? 2, right? So if you multiply it with 2, we get again what? 4 ATP molecules, right? Yeah. So if you add all these 30 plus 4 plus 4, you get 38 ATP molecules. So this is the respiratory balance sheet what we get, right? Yes. And finally, in the case of eukaryotes, as I said, it is 2. We generally minus 2 over here, okay, and answer is 36. Why? Because the 2 ATPs are actually lost, okay, the 2 ATPs are actually lost because for various purposes, for the transportation of the NAD plus back to the cytoplasm for the glycolysis to recontinue, and even In the case of eukaryotes, the inner membrane or also the proton pumps, that is the complex 1 and complex 3 and complex 4, they are not perfect. Okay, what happens is that it is leaky and sometimes the protons may come back from the intermembranous space to the matrix, right? As a result, we generally consider 2 ATPs less than the total number, right? So hence in the case of eukaryotes it is 36, but the value that they have given over in your textbook is 38, so stick on to the value of 38, right? So what is the net the respiratory balance sheet in the case of prokaryotes? It is 38, and eukaryotes it is 36, right? So this is what we get from, or this is the takeaway from the respiratory balance sheet. So finally, now what we can do is that we can look into some of the important questions. Okay, so the first question we are having is the complete oxidation of pyruvic acid will mainly result in the removal of 2 carbon dioxide molecules, 3 carbon dioxide molecules, 4 carbon dioxide molecule, 1 carbon dioxide molecule. So you know that complete oxidation will give us removal of the 3 carbon dioxide molecules. So answer is B over here. Now, the enzyme that is required for oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvic acid is pyruvate carboxylase, pyruvate dehydrogenase, succinate dehydrogenase, none of the above. The answer is pyruvate dehydrogenase. If you remember that reaction, okay, for the generation of acetyl-CoA, you require the pyruvate dehydrogenase, which also requires the magnesium ion as its cofactor, along with NAD plus and CoA as the coenzymes. Right. Next one, the next question is the enzyme that catalyzes the reaction of oxaloacetic acid and coenzyme A to citrate is a citrate synthetase, citrate isomerase, citrate synthase, and a pyruvate dehydrogenase. Right. So hence the answer, we know the enzyme that is mainly involved in this reaction is citrate synthase. Right. So now, there are two terms over here, synthetase and synthase. Generally, these both enzymes are quite functionally different. Okay, synthase is mainly involved in synthase does not consume any ATP, but whereas synthetase mainly consumes ATP. Right, this is the main primary difference we have to remember over here. The next question we are having is alpha ketoglutaric acid is formed after 2 successive rounds of hydration, decarboxylation, phosphorylation, all of the above. It is decarboxylation. Remember, it is what? Decarboxylation. Now, in Krebs cycle, the number of substrate level phosphorylation occurs at what step the substrate level phosphorylation is occurring? That's what they have asked. Succinyl-CoA to succinic acid, citrate to isocitrate, oxaloacetic acid to citrate, alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl-CoA. Right? So we know that the ATP is mainly formed at the step by removing the coenzyme A, SH bond from the succinyl-CoA to give us the succinic acid, and that energy is mainly used for transferring of one phosphate molecule to the GDP to give us the GTP, right? So this is what we know. Hence, we can say that this is the first step, right? The first option is the right answer over here. That is succinyl-CoA to succinic acid. The next question we are having. The number of direct GTP that is produced from one round of Krebs cycle is 1, 2, 3, and 4. The answer is A1. Okay, if 2 rounds of going, then we get 2 GTP molecules. Now moving on. The final acceptor of electrons in the electron transport chain is hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. So the right answer is, it is oxygen. Yes, ultimately all the electrons that have been removed from the NADH2 and FADH2 is carried down through the series of electron carriers or transporters. From those, it is given back to the final acceptor, that is the oxygen, and this results in the formation of water, right? Yes. So the right answer over here is the oxygen. The next question. The enzyme that is present in the inner membrane of the mitochondria for synthesis of the ATP is ATP hydrolase, ATP synthase, ATP dehydrogenase, ATP synthetase. We know the complex number 5, complex 5. Hence, that the another name for the complex 5 is ATP synthase. Hence, we can say that B is the right answer over here. The electron from the NADH2 enters NADH dehydrogenase, succinate dehydrogenase, cytochrome C, cytochrome BC1 complex. The answer is the complex number 1, and the another name for the complex number 1 is the NADH dehydrogenase. A is the right answer. The complete aerobic respiration will produce dash number of ATP, right? So from the respiratory balance sheet, we have calculated what is the total number of ATP. The answer is 38, right? So here you can see that the third option, C option, is the right answer over here. Now, the mobile electron transporter that carries the electron from the complex 3 to complex 4. Okay, so which of the electron transporter that should be having a mobile property, movable property, and it is involved in transporting the electrons from the complex 3 to complex 4? Cytochrome A, cytochrome C, cytochrome BC1 complex, and the NADH dehydrogenase. It is cytochrome C, right? We know this. The reduced form of ubiquinone is pheophytin, plastocyanin, ubiquitinase, and ubiquinol. It is ubiquinol. Okay, D. The reduced form is the ubiquinol. The number of copper centers that is mainly present in the cytochrome C oxidase is 3, 2, 5, and 1. So we know in the cytochrome C oxidase there are 2 copper centers. Okay, CU1, and next is cytochrome A, cytochrome A3, and finally we are having CUB, right? So there are 2 copper centers. So hence the right answer is B. 2 copper centers, copper A and copper B. Now, 14th question. The number of protons that should pass through the complex 5, that is the ATP synthase, to produce 1 ATP is 3, 2, 1, and 4. So the answer is, we know it should be 2 protons. Hence B is the right answer. Now, which of the following statements about the aerobic respiration is not true? There is a partial breakdown of glucose. 38 ATPs are produced. The reactions are vigorous, and the last statement is all of the above. So we know in the case of aerobic respiration, there is a complete breakdown, right? The first statement itself is wrong. Hence, A is the right answer over here. The role of NADH2 and FADH2 is they are electron carriers. They are in oxidized state. They are used to drive ATP synthesis. Both A and C, yes, they are the electron carriers and they are used to drive the ATP synthesis. D is the right answer over here, right? The next question, the respiratory quotient of carbohydrates is 2, 1, 0.9, 0.7. So we know in the case of carbohydrates, the amount of CO2 evolved and oxygen consumed is always equal. Hence the value will be 1, right? So based on that, the value is 1, and the B is the right answer for this. The type of respiratory substrate that cell never uses or living organism can never use is pure fat, pure carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, none of the above. It is pure fat and pure proteins. The cell never likes to use them, right? Yes. So next, we are having 19th question. The amino acids can enter the citric acid cycle by being converted into the glycerol, acetyl-CoA. Next is PGAL and the pyruvic acid. Okay, so we know it is converted into the acetyl-CoA, right? So B is the right answer over here. B is the right answer. Now, the next is if the value of the respiratory quotient is 1, then the CO2 evolved is not equal to O2 consumed. CO2 evolved is less than the O2 consumed. CO2 evolved is more than O2 consumed, or CO2 evolved is, the third option is equal to O2 consumed, and third option is CO2 evolved is more than the O2 consumed. The answer is C. The CO2 evolved is equal to the O2 consumed, right? The next question. The ion that is required for the activity of the pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme is zinc, magnesium, calcium, hydrogen, or proton. The answer is magnesium. We know it is magnesium that is mainly required for the activity of pyruvate dehydrogenase. So let us look into the question that we had discussed, or we had mainly given it as a homework, right? So how many PGAL molecules are produced by glycolysis of 3 molecules of glucose, and how many ATPs are released by the respiration till these PGAL form the CO2 and carbon dioxide and water, right? Yeah. So we know that from 1 glucose molecules we get 2 PGAL. Right, so we can say that from 3 glucose molecules we get 3 into 2, that is 6 PGAL, right? So now they have also asked how many ATPs are formed, right, till the formation of carbon dioxide and water. So it means that there should be complete aerobic respiration, complete oxidation, right? So we know 1 glucose molecule can give us 38 ATPs, 38 ATPs, right? Indirectly, it also means that 2 PGAL will ultimately give us 2 pyruvic acid. Upon complete oxidation will give us 38 ATPs. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಗ್ಲೂಕೋಸ್ ಇಂದ 38 ATP ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಗ್ಲೂಕೋಸ್ ಇಂದನೇ ನಮಗೆ 2 PGAL ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ 2 pyruvic acid ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ 2 pyruvic acid aerobic respiration ಆಗಿ ನಮಗೆ 38 ATP ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಹೌದಾ? So hence, for 6 PGAL, we can calculate the value, right? For 6 PGAL, what will be the number of ATPs? So it is just a cross multiplication. And if you cross multiply 6 into 38 divided by 2, the answer will be around 120 or something. The answer will be around near 114. Yeah? Yes. So this value, the nearest value for 114 is the 120. So hence B is the right answer, 6 PGAL and 120 ATP molecules, right? So this is the answer for this particular question, right? So this completes the chapter, that is respiration, and in the next video we will be, or next class we will be mainly focusing our discussion on the plant growth and development. So remember, the respiration and the chapter that is photosynthesis is quite important, as it is more chemistry, biochemistry based chapter. You will expect at least 2 to 3 questions from these 2 chapters, right? So we will meet in the next video, solve more and more questions, and thank you.